They're not listening, they're watching. It's actions, not words. A leader inspires. A leader doesn't nag, doesn't dictate, doesn't give orders. There's a difference. I never wanted to be a dictator or an authority. I wanted to be a leader. It's actually the kindest thing you can do for your children is to be a leader for them, because that is when children have the highest self-esteem. The scenes are the lessons. Everyone's trying to avoid the tantrums, the fits, the scenes, the meltdowns. Those are the lessons. Those are them processing that you are in control, and they are not. Welcome to the Bratbusters Parenting Podcast. My name's Lisa Bunnage. I'm a parenting coach. I'm a mom. I'm also a grandmother.
And I'm Amy Bunnage, Lisa's daughter, and I handle the marketing and planning here at Bratbusters. While I don't have kids, each episode will dive into parenting topics and Lisa will answer your questions. Let's get started.
Hello again from Lisa and
Amy.
we're so awkward with this introduction because we've already got our main introduction. So I just don't feel right just saying, and what we're talking about today is, anyway, so here we are again. As usual, I never know what we're talking about because I don't work that way. So sweetie, over to you.
Well, it is the shift that happens in your parenting from the toddler to kid age.
Oh, good one.
Yeah, this one I actually came up with on my own.
That's a good one. Okay, I'm actually going to look up the 4 stages of parenting. Mm-hmm. I haven't written anything on it, but okay. Okay, good. So before we get into it, and there are questions on that, I'm assuming. Okay, so before we get into it, I'll explain how I have broken down, just my own personal view after all these decades of working with kids, my personal view of the 4 different stages of kids and how your parenting has to change and adjust to those 4 stages, okay? Well, I won't go into how you adjust it yet, but I'll just say the 4 stages. Number 1 is the baby, obviously, 0 to 15 months. Remember, this is just what I've made up in my own mind, how I deal with it. The second one is the toddler stage, 16 to 35 months. Then you go into the child stage, 3 to 12. I know I've got tweens and preteens in there. It's a little bit more of a gray area, but you still parent them the same way. By the way, this is broken down into how you parent them. And then the last one, of course, is teens, 13 plus. Okay, so let's get into our questions.
The change that happens as you transition into this time, do you want to maybe go over
how
you deal with stuff with toddlers and then how you deal with it with kids?
Yeah, I should have said that. Okay, so the babies 0 to 15 months is just they're starting to learn right from wrong. And then you're heading right into those toddler years. You're teaching them right from wrong. They kind of already get it, and then you're following through with actions. So with babies, I won't get into that because we're not discussing that right now, but we're going into the toddler phase, which is the consistent corrective actions. So every time they do something that you don't like, you just say the word no. They're not listening to that anyway, so they're not listening, they're watching. It's actions, not words. But you just say the word no to let them know you're coming. It's because something's going to happen. So as soon as you get to them, it's got to be fast because they live right in the moment. Their memory isn't the best. So you go up and you say no, and then you remove the fun from them. Like if they're holding a toy or whatever, you pick it up, you say no, and you put it away. And where they can see it but can't touch it for an hour or half hour or whatever. Or you remove them from the fun. So you remove the fun from them or them from the fun. Now, the question I often get, so in other words, if they just hit a kid, you remove the hitter from the other kid, from the play. So, and just hold them there, take them in the kitchen with you or whatever. But don't discuss the bad behavior. This is the biggest mistake parents make with toddlers, is they do all these mini therapy sessions, which is absolute trash, because they will agree with you. They'll say, yes, I know I shouldn't hit. I know it hurts his feelings. I feel bad about that. I'm so sorry. And then they'll turn around and hit again. And parents are like, what the heck? It's because they're not listening. It's not their language. Their language is actions. And they learn through consistent corrective actions, repetition, repetition, repetition. It's like a toddler will touch a hot stove 10 times, but they might not touch it the 11th. It's more a knee-jerk reaction type of learning. It's more goes into their body memory almost. It's not a thought process. So by the time they hit 3, their frontal lobe cortex thing, whatever, I always think of it as a little dangly punching bag for some reason. I know it's not, but anyway, I've actually seen pictures of it. It looks nothing like that. Anyway, looks like brain, obviously. So, but that's when they can stop and think before they act. At the age of 3, it's a bit of a gray area. It could be 1 month under, 1 month over, but not even over. Right at 3, they can all learn how to stop and think before they act. Just because they know they shouldn't do something doesn't mean they're not going to do it. Okay, that's the lack of impulse control, but they will learn through your behavior board. That's when you say, okay, you touched that. That was on the behavior board as a rule, not to touch the stove or whatever. So you touched it, and here's the consequence. You're using a behavior board. You can't use the behavior board before that because it's a visual tool. It requires them to be able to stop and think and reason. But they will learn. You're going to teach them this. It's not going to be easy right away. They usually get worse before they get better, by the way, especially if they've been in control in the past. But this is when, the 3, and it was the going from toddler to child, 3 to 12 is, I've grouped it all together because your parenting style is very similar. Even though a 3-year-old is very different from a 12-year-old. By the way, that can stretch up to about 14. Okay, the same style, depending on their maturity level, right? So some 13, 14-year-olds are a lot more mature than others. So just use your own judgment with that. I do have a boot camp course on 3 to 12 and toddlers also, but it could actually stretch up to a more, I don't want to call it immature, but you know what I mean, less advanced, socially kind of 14-year-old. But that is all about you. What I mean by that is it's all about you between 3 and 12, which means they're watching you like a hawk and they're starting to listen to you. So all of their behavior between 3 and 12 is a direct result of your parenting. I always say it's 100%. I would say it's a slight exaggeration. It might be 99.99999. But it's amazing how much power your leadership has over them. So if you look at it this way, their behavior when you're a leader is 100% a direct result of your parenting. When you're not a leader, it might be a bit of a mix. Okay. But when you are a leader, their behavior is a direct result of your parenting because under a leader, a calm leader, they have really high self-esteem, which leads to them liking themselves. When they like themselves, they make good choices because they want to please you, the leader. You become their guiding light. Okay. I think that was a little bit confusing, so I'm going to shut up now.
Your goal with saying that, though, I'm assuming, is to empower parents.
Absolutely. You can't control other people. You can only inspire your children to control themselves. That's what a leader does. A leader doesn't tell people what to do. A leader has rules and boundaries, but then a leader doesn't micromanage and try and prevent bad behavior. That's ridiculous. Don't try and stop your kids from being bad, okay? Let them make that choice. But when they do make a poor choice, you come in and say, okay, you made that choice. Here's the consequence. A leader inspires. A leader doesn't nag, doesn't dictate, doesn't give orders. There's a difference. I never wanted to be a dictator or an authority. I wanted to be a leader. I want to inspire my kids and kids I worked with to make good choices. And that's what leadership's all about. So it's actually the kindest thing you can do for your children is to be a leader for them, because that is when children have the highest self-esteem and they make the best choices. Imagine the pride they have when they know their life is up to them. You've often said this. You always felt heard and that you were in control. You had control over how things went. Can you explain what you mean by that?
I think that you raised me with the idea that I can't control someone else's actions, but I can control my reaction to it and how I approach the world. And I think that that gave me a sense of empowerment when I went out into the world, because I wasn't expecting everyone to cater to me or for it to all go my way. And of course I had hiccups and I mess up. And
but everyone's human. It's
exactly.
Sorry. No, we've got to learn not to interrupt each other, because when it's just the two of us and we're not recording, I don't think either one of us listen to anything.
Oh God, no.
Talk and talk and talk. So we're trying to be good on here. But also what I meant by that, I understand that you did understand that what you put out, you get back, basically. And you didn't have a sense of entitlement. You didn't expect people to treat you a certain way. But also what I meant by when I said you felt you had control, you knew if you didn't like what was going on in the family or with me or whatever, what would you have done?
I would have said something about it.
For sure. And also if you came at me with something really fair and reasonable that you thought I was being unfair, what would have happened?
Well, you would have listened to it.
And I would have changed. I would have said, you're right, that was unfair. And then I would change.
Okay. Mom, I think it's unfair that when I explain technology to you that you don't listen to me.
Okay. Okay. You're an adult now. I'm not parenting you anymore. Yeah. This is embarrassing, but she'll explain something to me and I'm not listening at all. she'll say, she'll say, this is how you do it. And I'll be, la, 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 la. So, but we're in business together, so it's a little bit different. We're more peers. I'm still mom, but we're, it's different. But yeah, no, that's very true. I am useless at taking direction when it comes to technology. But I've been running an online business for 18 years, and the first 17, I was doing it alone. It didn't really take off to the degree it did until you came on board, which I guess is
You do fantastic. I just saw an opportunity and I had to go for it.
She did. That was very good. Very good.
Yeah.
Bravo. Very well done. Okay.
I do a lot of mess ups too. So it goes both ways.
We both do.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why you got to have a sense of humor because we are always at each other.
But here we go. This is the perfect opportunity, example is I didn't feel like I couldn't tell my mom that. You see, I feel like I can tell you that. And we joke about it, and it's just our dynamic.
We don't miss anything with each other. If we see something like that, we go in for the kill. What happened last week when we were filming our podcast? You had given me a task to do. She was busy downloading the podcast on my computer here. We do this at my place.
Oh, this is the perfect example of how bossy I am. Perfect example.
Well, I was going to say, interesting you said that, because I was going to say how useless I am.
Oh, no, I think this was me being bossy.
Okay, do you want to tell the story?
You go for it.
Okay, so she gives me something to do that I was supposed to do away from my desk, and it was work related because she does all the planning and she's very driven. She has a lot more self-discipline than I do. So I have a spare room, like a sunroom, and I'm in there, and that's also my sewing room. And I'm in there, and she said, Mom, what are you doing? And I was supposed to be doing this work. And I said, oh, I'm darning a sock. And she goes, what the hell? And she goes, I told you you're supposed to be doing that. What the hell are you doing darning a sock?
I think I said something, you're darning a sock when you have to do this?
And then I felt so guilty. It was hilarious. And we just cracked up. That is the epitome of the difference between the two of us. I'm a little bit more homey and flighty and laid back, whereas she's very driven. When she's got a task, she wants it done. She
but
gets it done.
That creates me being a little bossy sometimes.
Well, and I need that though. It's funny that we interpreted that differently. You saw it as bossy. I saw it as my failing, and you saw it as your failing. Mm-hmm. So how interesting. I would have thought, here's a story about Mom being useless. And I didn't, that's the way I saw it, but you saw it differently. I didn't know that. But yeah, we both cracked up at that. It just epitomizes the difference between the two of us.
Yeah. Okay, how about we get into some questions?
Okay, sorry.
Speaking of being bossy, let's get into questions now, Mom.
Sorry.
Okay, the first one is Allison from the United States. I'm a new full-time stay-at-home mom with my 3 boys, 3 years old and 20. With my boys, 3-year-old and 20-month-old. They are great and I love it, but it has been an adjustment. I've started implementing your leadership techniques and I can already see some fruit. My 3-year-old has tantrums, but they have become less. My 20-month-old still whines a lot and screeches to get his own way. So annoying. I'm also pregnant with my 3rd due this June. It has been hard for me to emotionally detach and sit or restrain my oldest during tantrums since I have another little one to care for. Sometimes this looks like restraining the older one while the younger one nurses on the other side of me. Crazy, I know. Do you have techniques for families who have narrow windows between their children? I really want to potty train the oldest now so he is out of diapers. Do you have any advice? He's extremely stubborn and doesn't like it, but will sit on a little race car potty from time to time. I thought I might as well train the 20-month-old at the same time. What is your opinion? I don't want this to be a drawn-out struggle. Thank you.
That's a lot. Okay, let's just focus on the 3-year-old, okay? Because the 20-month-old is following behind and watching you. Learn your skills, your parenting skills with the 3-year-old. Learn the leadership stuff with the 3-year-old. And then the younger one, they're watching. Okay, so let's just, for the sake of the podcast, just focus on that one question. Fair enough? Mm-hmm. Okay, so the 3-year-old, use the behavior board, start there with the potty training. It's actually included in the course. We put that in the 3 to 12-year-old course also, the potty training. We did, didn't we? Not just bedtime. Yeah, we put the potty training because a lot of 3-year-olds aren't potty trained yet. So go through that, and I would not potty train them both at the same time. It's a lot. It's messy. Yeah, and you're pregnant, you're hormonal, one is plenty. And then when the little one sees the older one going on the potty, then maybe a month after the first one is trained, then you might train the second one. But 20 months old is still kind of young. I trained both my kids at 2.5. They can be trained younger, like at 18 months even, but they're more likely to regress. And you don't want to be dealing with messes when you're pregnant. You got two young ones already that you're trying to exercise your leadership with. So yeah, I would strongly recommend maybe wait a little bit longer than 1 month after you've trained the first one. So check out the boot camp course that goes into how you potty train. And when it comes to the little one screeching, I said I was just going to deal with a 3-year-old, but I'm just going to address this for a second. Screeching, it's just temporary. Okay, they're toddlers, they're nuts, they're crazy. You're just going to have to try and ignore that as best you can. And if you said you can't just sit there through a tantrum or be there through a tantrum, that's okay. They're still watching you. If you have to go tend to the little one because the 3-year-old's having a tantrum, you can just look like you're distracted and walk off and do what you've got to do. That's still acceptable. Like you ignore a tantrum, but you're still there. But if you got to go somewhere else, they'll probably stand up and follow you and continue the tantrum wherever you are. Okay? Because they don't like to tantrum alone. There's no point, because that just proves that a tantrum is just for your benefit. So if you look like it bothers you, they're going to keep doing it. One more thing, as I want to address this, and this can go for a lot of parents. I hear this every single day in coaching. How do we handle our own emotions? That's your personal challenge. That's like going to a diet center and asking how not to eat everything you want to eat. It's just your own personal challenge with all this. Is you're just going to have to find your own outlet. It could be exercise. It could be screaming into a pillow. It could be putting on headphones and listening to Beethoven or whatever it is. You're going to have to find your own coping skill. It's different with everybody, but that is, I can't help you control your emotions other than to say, if you keep doing what I recommend, generally it works in the long run, making your life easier down the road. But for now, it's work. It's just hard work. I can't help you with that. When people choose to have kids close together, there's a really difficult, not always, some toddlers are like, you were very laid back. Actually, your brother, they were both more laid back. They weren't really, super active kids. So, but generally it's a really high physical time. So yeah, and a lot of parents don't really think about that. Not that they shouldn't have kids close together, but you have to understand physically it's very exhausting. And now you're pregnant again. So yeah, it's temporary. It won't last forever. Okay. But also try and play with them as much as possible together, like the 3 of you together and all in their world, and try and connect with them as much as possible. That helps, part of leadership. It's about all I want to say there, because I would have to ask more questions to go more in depth.
Okay. Next question is Alyssa from Canada. How do you teach your 3.5-year-old what lying and talking back is and how to prevent it?
Okay. If it's just attitude, like, yeah, right, and rolling their eyes, a 3.5-year-old, they can do that. Rolling their eyes, you don't address that. But if they say, you're stupid, and then you say you're not allowed to say bad words, like name calling, and they go, you stoop. You know how they'll play that? They'll push it, right? So I would put down on the behavior board, say, no mean words. And then when they even hint at one, then you say, you hinted at a mean word. They don't need to know that ahead of time. Say, that's a consequence. You meant the mean word. We know what you meant. So yeah, just put down no mean words. That means swearing, name calling, but you can't put attitude. If they just roll their eyes and go, oh, I hate you, you do not address that. But if they name call, like call you stupid or swear, those are the 2 things you address. You do not address, I hate you, you hate me. Don't address that. That's manipulative talk. Okay? That's just trying to annoy the heck out of you. So you ignore the attitude, but you address specific bad words and hinting at bad words and name calling.
What about the lying?
The lying, was that in there too? I missed that one. Okay, just put no lying on the second behavior board. No lying. And you make the call. But I wasn't lying. Well, you probably got away with lying in the past, so I'm going to call this a lie. I'm making the judgment call here. You're in charge. Just take charge of it. And have a consequence. It's on the behavior board. The behavior board is completely free, bratbusters.com. You can check out the courses if you want to go a little bit further. And then coaching would be further than that if you're interested.
Now, would you handle lying differently with a toddler?
Yeah, you don't handle it with toddlers. With under the age of 3, you don't do anything with it. Not much. No. They will lie, but they're not really Deceitful? Hmm. That's stupid because that's the same word. But what I mean by that is there's not a lot of thought that goes into it. There's more thought that goes into everything by the age of 3. So yeah, I don't address lying when they're little. But if they lied about, oh, I did that, and then they did it and they're lying about it, just address the action that they did wrong, but don't address lying.
I'm just thinking like the kid with chocolate all over their face saying, "No, I didn't eat any."
Yeah, that's the action that you're going to correct, not the lying. See what I mean? Yes, you did. And here's, I'm going to put your favorite toy away or whatever. But yeah, I mean, the thing is too, is they say, oh, but it's so cute. Oh, it's so cute. I say, yeah, but don't show it. Don't go, oh, be very careful with that. Say, oh, you ate some chocolate. No, I didn't. Okay, so you ate the chocolate. So here, I'm going to take your favorite toy. It's going to be put away. Let them scream it out. Of course it's going to cause a scene. The scenes are the lessons. Everyone's trying to avoid the tantrums, the fits, the scenes, the meltdowns. Those are the lessons. Those are them processing that you are in control, and they are not. You do not need to validate any scenes or fits or anything that happens during that time, because it's just a way of them processing that they're no longer in charge. So you actually want to walk into those storms. I invite them. I really do. Because if I know teaching them right from wrong is going to cause a scene, I'll cause a scene every single time. Every single time. I would never try and avoid a scene ever. Ever. Because then there's no lesson. I would rather, I wouldn't say I set them up for failure, but if there's 2 choices and I'm dealing with a really difficult kid and there's 2 choices, but I know one's an easier one and they'll go along with it, but the other one they might not, I'd be more likely to guide them into that one, the harder one, because that's my opportunity to exercise my leadership, right? And the better you get at this, the quicker the results. Like it would take me maybe, I've worked with hundreds of kids, I don't know. Teenagers were harder, it took 2 or 3 weeks. But with a little one, it's toddler, pretty much right away. I can get respect. The older they get, the longer it takes. Might take me a couple of visits with an 8-year-old, like mentoring, working with them. But teenagers, 2 or 3 weeks. But yeah, they pick up on this. They pick up on, hey, I'm not bothered by that. You do whatever you want. I'm on my trajectory. I know what we need to do here. I know what needs to happen. You need to go to bed. You need to get ready for school. I know how to make those things happen. No matter what you do, what you say, how you act, I know how to follow through. Because I know once you realize it's going to happen anyway, then everything gets easy and then you can just relax and enjoy. That's the thing, is I want the rainbow, and I know how to get there. I have no problem going through a hurricane to get to the rainbow. Everyone's trying to prolong it and lengthen it. Well, maybe a little rainstorm's okay. I don't do that. I go right into the hurricane because I know at the other end of the hurricane is the bigger rainbow, right? You got to go through the storms to get to the rainbow.
Boy, I bet that's hard though.
It's very hard when you haven't got experience. It's super easy when you do, because you know how well it works. I've got that muscle memory that I know how well this works. So I lean into it. I love it because I know the outcome. If you don't have confidence, and you probably do too, because you're probably thinking right now, yeah, for you it's easy, right? But that's what I teach. It's not going to be quite that straightforward with you, but you get the idea. You don't try and avoid the storms. Walk into them, because that is where the lesson is. But if you get upset or look angry, the lesson is erased. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
You can't look upset. You have to be calm. Like that kid that said to me, I know I repeat this all the time, but it's just such a quick little good story. If you don't give me what I want, I'm going to have a fit. And I said, bring it on. And you could see him process. He was 8. You could see him. He was great with me. Never had a fit, nothing. You could see him go, oh, she knows what she's doing. And then he relaxed. Then he was happy. The teacher even said, what did you do? And I said, oh, I asked him to have a fit. But I just showed him, fine, go ahead. It's none of my business if you have a fit. Doesn't bother me at all. At all. And then, here's the key too, is afterwards, a lot of people think you've got to be tough after that to show you're tough. It's the exact opposite. So when I said, bring it on, and just went quiet, he looked at me all funny. And then as soon as you can just tell physically, they've just given up. They just go, oh, she knows what she's doing. Then I go, okay, let's get to work now. See, I'm all fun. I'm all cheery. I'm focusing on the good kid. Now I'm connecting and bonding. Without that, none of this works. You got to be fun. You got to play in their world. You got to make them feel good. That's the pool story. I've told that a million times. That's the pool story. Just look up on YouTube, Brat Busters pool story. It'll come up. I deal with bad behavior, but then I instantly forget it and focus on the good kid. If you're going to talk about their bad behavior and want to discuss it and have a therapy session about it, good luck with that. That's not a leader. That's a bully. You're shaming them. It's shaming and blaming, and it's just, it's not going to get you where you want to go. When do you discuss bad behavior? I never have. Why would you do that? What's the point?
It's almost like you're saying, all of that's a you problem, and I'm not going to let it impact me.
Yeah.
And I'm here for you.
Oh, for sure. Very much so. So yeah, if they have a fit, I'm just looking at my nails. As soon as they're done, oh, you all done? Okay, do you want to go read a book? You want to go play? You want to go to the park? Do you want to get the work done? I'm all buddy, buddy, buddy. See, there's a reward for being calm, and there's nothing if they're not. So it's not that it's negative to be crazy and wild. There's not much, like I don't do much, but it's more of a positive when they're good. That's why I say focus on the good kid. And I worked with troubled, delinquent, violent teenagers. So that's where I learned the most of what I teach is I already had this in me, but it was proved over and over and over again with those teenagers. I thought this stuff works. I don't let anything go. It's quite different with teenagers, by the way. I don't let anything go. I mention it very quickly and briefly, like, oops, oh, I saw that or something, and then this is when I'm working with kids. You don't do this with your own teenagers. But then instantly I focus on the good kid. How do you think those teenagers treated me? Beautifully, because I made them feel good about themselves. One of them even said, I didn't like myself till I met you, Lisa. Like, wow, that's the goal in leadership. You want kids to like themselves when they're with you. That is the whole goal. It's not to raise good kids. That's a byproduct. My main focus is to make kids feel good about themselves. And if I'm the cause of that, wow, how are they going to treat me? How are they going to treat you? Beautifully. It just makes sense. If you've ever had a teacher or a coach or a mentor, a grandparent that you look up to, and they make you feel good about yourself, how do you treat them? Like gold, right? It's the same with kids. It's no different. It's exactly the same. You make them feel good about themselves, and they'll treat you like gold.
I just want to touch on one thing. So does this teach them at all to bottle up their feelings?
Oh my God, no. Because when they feel good about themselves, and you're a safe place to land, right? So when they feel good about themselves, they'll tell you everything. Such a good question, Amy. They'll tell you everything because you're a safe place to land. They feel good about themselves. They know they're safe with you. They trust you. And they want to tell you everything. I even get that in coaching with parents. They'll say, I can't believe they'll tell me something that they've held their whole lives. Literally have never told anybody. I've heard this many times. And they'll tell me that, and I'll go, well, do you want to keep talking about it? How are you feeling? And they'll go, I can't believe I told you that. Because a leader, someone in a trusted position, they trust me with their feelings. I'm pretty harsh sometimes too. Like I have to say it like it is, but not with stuff like that, obviously. But yeah, that's a leader, is someone who makes you feel safe. And if you're not a leader for your children, there is a level of feeling unsafe. Years and years ago, I was in a grade 2 class and just helping out, supporting the teacher. And it was one of those days where all the parents had to come in, or a bunch of them, because we were splitting up into groups and doing an activity. So they asked for parent volunteers. So I was one of them. And I always had a reputation with the other moms of being tough. So they thought, oh, well, none of the kids are going to want to be with you, Lisa. And I love that stuff, right? And of course they wouldn't. Why would they want to be stuck with me, right? Tough old Lisa. So when we all arrived, all the kids put their hands up. Can we go in Lisa's group? And the other moms were so confused. Like, why would they want to be with you? Anyway, we all split up. Of course, the teacher gave me all the challenging kids in one go. I got all of them. And which group do you think was the best behaved? My group, obviously. That's where I'm going with this story. So my group they were listening. And if they didn't, they were pulled over beside me, and I was sort of, goofing around with them a little bit, but letting them know, hey, don't act like that. So anyway, and they were having fun. This is the weird part. And the teacher was quite new, by the way. I think that day was a substitute. It was some reason for this. But anyway, so the fire alarm went, and it was a surprise. It wasn't planned. And all the kids ran to me, not the teacher and not their parents. The moms were so hurt by this. It's not that they love me. It's just I'm a leader. They feel safe with me. That was a real tell. So I was surprised at that. I didn't expect that. And then they ended up going over to their moms and that, but initially their gut reaction was to run toward the leader. So, and I want to make this very clear. It's not in my personality to be a leader in my personal life. It's only with kids. I'm very maternal. So I lead with what I know they need, and what they need is leadership. In my inner circle, in my personal life, I'm a follower. So you don't have to be a leader in your personal life or in your adult life to do this with children at all, because I'm not like that. Obviously, my daughter's in charge around here for sure. She's definitely the one that's in charge. So, because I hate it. I don't want to decide what I'm eating, what I'm doing, what I'm working on. I don't want to decide any of that. She tells me what to do because I don't like it. I don't like being a leader in my personal life. I'd always rather be a follower. But with kids, I'm a leader.
Because that's what they need.
It's what they need. Plus, it makes it easier. They're easy to be around. When you're a leader, you get the best out of them. They're fun. That's why I love kids so much, because I don't enjoy kids who are acting out. No one does. It's disgusting. So I make sure they don't when they're with me, so I can enjoy them.
It's a little ironic that our roles just flipped.
It is, but am I still mom?
Yeah.
Very much so. A good example of that is if we're going to cross a street, and if I think she's going to go too quick, that arm flies out like you wouldn't believe.
I'm like, Mom, I'm 30.
Drives her nuts. And then she goes, and then I said, I would love it if someone did that for me. And she thinks she's going to get me with this. So one day she goes like that, and I go, I grab her arm. Oh, I feel so loved and taken care of. So that didn't work.
I don't think that anymore. I know.
So yeah, no, I'm still mom. But I always was. We were always friends, for sure. Growing up, I was friends with my kids, for sure. I didn't have to lead with this leader stuff or the discipline, because they were self-disciplined at 3.5. They kind of knew that if they made a poor choice, mom would come in with a consequence. They knew that. But because I had done the work early on, I could just relax and enjoy them right through the teen years. Of course, there's always some hiccups, but nothing to write home about, nothing big. So yeah, you want to lead with leadership with children, even if you're not a leader in your personal life. And that's a lot of parents think, well, I can't do that because you're a leader. If you saw me out with people I'm comfortable with, you'd see I'm not a leader. Where are we going? What do you want to do, Lisa? I don't know. Actually, I had a friend years ago. We were the same. We were both followers. You should have seen us standing on a street corner. What do you want to do? I don't know. What do you want to do? I think I even texted my daughter what she would do. Useless.
We need a combo of both.
Yeah, we're lucky. We complement each other so beautifully. But yeah, so you don't have to be a leader in your personal life to be a leader with children.
Okay, next question is Ava from the United States. My son just turned 3, and we started using the behavior board a couple of weeks ago. He's been hitting during tantrums, and so it was the first rule we put on. However, since listening to the podcast, I'm unsure if I should be giving a consequence for the hitting during a tantrum or taking as just a tantrum. Outside of tantrums, he never hits. I've had mixed results when implementing the consequence, because he's either in a full meltdown and basically tells me where to put my consequence. We're in transition to go somewhere and I can't give the consequence immediately, or he completes the consequence and everything is okay. He also hit me more while issuing the consequence. So my question is, am I misinterpreting this hitting as actual hitting instead of being part of the tantrum? If so, how do I handle the hitting during the tantrum so he knows it is not right, as he is also doing this at daycare?
Well, I'm wondering, where exactly did he tell you to put the consequence? Where did he ask you to place it? What body part? Anyway, so I love coaching. I laugh a lot in coaching because parents are often traumatized by what their kid's doing, and I'm laughing. They say, why are you laughing? Because I hear this all the time. That really? Yeah. It's all normal stuff. You always have a consequence for hitting, even if it's during a tantrum. But you wait till the tantrum's over and you say, okay, you hit. Don't say you hit during a tantrum. We never discuss tantrums. They say, okay, so you hit. And you hit a lot. So we're going to bundle them all up and go to the second consequence. So no TV for the next 24 hours. No media, no screens, whatever for the next 24 hours. And impose it. Then when he hits and hits and hits during that 24 hours, just say, that's why you've got 24-hour media blackout. You don't double it. You just say, he's learning, even though he's hitting a lot. He's already living the consequence for hitting. Okay. And then you don't show any anger. Just let him hit, push him away, whatever, just walk away. But yeah, so you always address the hitting if it's on, especially if it's on the board, but you don't mention the tantrum. You wait till he's stopped and then you say, by the way, you hit, but you did that to me. So here's the consequence. You don't listen to the arguments. You're on a trajectory. You're on a mission here. You're following through as a leader. So you're going to say to him, okay, so you hit after the tantrum's over. So you hit me. So let's go to the board. No, but you made me do that. Anyway, on the board, it says no hitting, but you hit quite a bit today. But I didn't. You made me do that. So what we're going to do is we're going to go straight to the second consequence. So 24. No, I hate you. I hate you. So 24-hour media blackout starts now. And then you look at them. Do you understand? See how I'm following through with what I'm doing. I'm a leader. I know what I'm doing. See, I don't let him guide this whole conversation. If he's yelling a lot while you're trying to do the board, this is what he needs to hear. Like nothing. You're following through. He chooses not to listen. And then the 24-hour media starts. The next time he asks for an iPad, he didn't hear you say 24-hour media blackout. So the next time he asks for an iPad, say, well, no, I was at the board and I said 24-hour media blackout. It's simple when I explain it, isn't it? Isn't it? Like I'm just following through. It's his choice whether or not he listens or likes it. I don't care. I'm doing the right thing. I'm following through with my leadership. I'm teaching him a lesson. I don't allow him to take control of that. I'm in control. And then as soon as he's calmed down after the big scene, he's got the 24-hour media blackout, he's mad. As soon as he's calmed down, oh, do you want to play a game? No, I hate you. I hate you. Okay, never mind. When he's calmed down a half hour later, you ready for that game now? I'm on the high road. I'm trying to connect. I'm trying to bond. He's little. He'll do it. He'll play the game. The older they get, they'll tell you where to put your consequence. They'll tell you where to put your game, where the sun don't shine. So yeah, but he's little. He'll play. But you see how I just followed through with what I'm doing. See how calm it is? But then you offer to play a game. Here, I still love you. I'm not mad. Don't discuss it. But that's not fair. Say, you ready for that game? Don't discuss the unreasonable garbage that they're going to throw at you. I hate you, don't love me, you hate me. So, do you want to play a game? It's like that. It eventually works. But not at first. They're going to be very confused initially. Why aren't you talking? Why aren't you answering me? Crazy mom. Don't get pulled in. It's pure manipulation. Don't let them do that. It's not nice. It's not fair to let them be like that. No one's going to like them if they're like that. So it's not, you want your kids to be likable. You want teachers to rave about your kids. That's what you want. I got personally handwritten notes from the principals of my kids' schools. If every kid was like yours, school would be a total joy. Because they recognized I put the work in. They just did. They understand. I put the work into those kids. I made them nice. I made them go out into the world as nice human beings. So you can do this. Anyone can learn how to do this. You just have to overcome all your own anger. Anger comes from fear. So don't be afraid of your kids. All of your anger and frustration comes from fear. Don't be afraid of your kids. Easier said than done. I don't say that with parents of teenagers as much. It's a little bit different, but we're talking about younger kids here. So, okay, next question.
Okay, Raina from Canada. My 3-year-old doesn't listen from the first time I ask him to do something. I know I have yelled many times and repeated myself, but I want to change and I am working on not yelling and gaining respect with being calm. How do I deal with him not listening for the first time and how do I get him to start listening? Single mother here and I'm usually the only trying to put the rules down. Only one, I'm guessing. When son starts whining, his dad gives him what he wants. I'm struggling and not sure how to move forward.
Okay, they don't need 2 leaders, they only need 1. So they will they generally lean into the personality that they have with the leader eventually. Okay. But might take a little bit longer if you've got someone else giving in and you don't live together. It's a little bit harder, right? because they get more days without you not being a leader. Anyway, so use the behavior board. And when you say, be careful what you ask for, because you said he's not listening. Yeah, but he's not listening because you're not a leader. Remember, that's just a sign that you're not a leader. So he's not listening because he doesn't respect you. So you got to work on respect. Start with the behavior board, put one rule on there at a time. And you pick something like this. You say, I want you to, what would it be? You never put down, listen to me. That's ridiculous. But you put down very specifically, get dressed for school or whatever. Get dressed within 10 minutes of being asked to do so. It's very specific. And you're teaching him how to listen one rule at a time. You can't do it big picture. That's what everyone wants. It's impossible. I would do it. I'd go in there within a couple of days. He'd be listening to everything I said. I would never repeat myself, and I'd take action. But I'm very careful what I say. Okay, time to get dressed. If he says no and runs, I pick him up, put him in the car with just his undies on, bring his clothes in the car, and I dress him once we get where we're going in the car. So I take action right away, but you're probably not ready to do that. That's sort of because I'm very confident when I do it. If you get upset, it doesn't work. So yeah, just start with one rule at a time, and get him to listen to that, because you're teaching him a consequence. If he doesn't listen, then there's a consequence. There's a lot more in that, but that's just generally the way it goes. But never put down, listen to me. That's like saying to someone out in the street, you like me. Like me. I mean, you're asking an emotion. Like you're saying, you listen to me. In other words, you respect me. You're demanding an emotion from someone. Like respect is an emotion. So it doesn't make any sense to demand an emotion, does it? You go over there and you hate that person right now. It makes as much sense as saying you listen to me on the behavior board. So one rule at a time. And that's how you learn. And never repeat yourself. I would never say something twice. Yeah, poor Amy. How many times have I said that? I'm very immature in a lot of ways. I still think that's funny. It's only funny because I know how much it annoys my kids. Anyway, one rule at a time, one step at a time. You're not going to master it all in one day. It's going to take 3 to 6 weeks before you start to feel confident, if you're following through and being consistent.
Okay. Ursula from South Africa. My 3-year-old has started using a swear word after family that didn't respect our rules visited for the holidays. How can I stop her from using this word? I've tried to correct her in saying a different word, but it is proving unsuccessful. I don't want to bring attention to the word by saying she shouldn't say it like Daddy is doing, because that just makes it worse. What would be the appropriate approach here?
Well, there's a lot of therapy sessions going on there, but where's the consequence? We all learn through consequences, all of us. I pay my taxes because I might go to jail if I don't. I pay for my groceries because I might get grabbed as I'm trying to leave without paying. Life's about consequences. What's the consequence for swearing? Put down no bad words on the behavior board, and every time she does, there's a consequence. That's it. That's simple. You do call attention to it. She's 3. You do call attention to it. Why would you not want to? Why would you think that bad behavior, you don't call attention to it? You're trying to sweep it under the rug? That's what you're doing. Yeah. You make it a project. Think this is a battle, we're going to win it.
My guess, if I was coming from the parent's perspective, would be that they don't want to call attention to it because they don't want it to be like, oh, you shouldn't do that. And then the kid wants to do it more because they shouldn't do it.
Well, the more they do it, the more consequences they get. So it's their choice. I know, I get that, and what's so good about Amy is that she doesn't have kids yet, and she sees things coming from a different perspective. So I wouldn't have thought of that particularly. Like, you know what I mean? Like I've always been a leader with kids. Sorry, I just lost my screen for a sec. I've always been a leader, like from the time I was 11 with kids. So, but if you haven't been, that question makes perfect sense. Yeah. Calling attention to bad behavior is the best thing you can do. Different with a 2-year-old, but with a 3-year-old, put it on the board. Say no bad words.
Okay, we have one final question. Katie from the United States. Hi, Lisa. Do you have any tips for getting 2 toddlers to sleep in the same room? I have a 16-month-old and a 3-year-old. They share a room and both sleep on floor bed, so no cribs. Sleep has become a nightmare. Currently, my husband and I both go in there and each sit with one till they fall asleep, but it's becoming a multiple-hour ordeal. Then the little one wakes the big one up and he will come to our bed. And the youngest will wake up several times throughout the night. I feel stuck because if I let one cry, usually the younger, they will wake up the other one, so I end up laying with them to go back to sleep every time. We're all exhausted, and me and my husband have no hours to ourselves at the end of the day. Any help?
Sorry, I got a dog out in the hall. We'll just let it happen. This is life.
Who knows if the microphones are picking it up anyways?
They might not be. Okay, my neighbor's always trying to train their dog. Their dogs hate these other two dogs on the floor. And if they even smell a hint of those other dogs, they go berserk because they think the hallway is theirs, right? They all think that way. So they're very possessive. Anyway, it's quite funny. Anyway, that's all gone. So I actually forgot the question. Just give me a quick reminder.
16-month-old, 3-year-old.
Oh, yeah,
sharing.
yeah. Oh, gee, that's difficult. You do one at a time. You do bedtime battles. I do have bedtime battles in my boot camp courses. It's in 2 stages, how to get them in bed, then how to keep them there. You do one at a time. Take one of them in your room, put their bed in your room, and say, I would do this with take the older one in your room first. I would do it that way and train the younger one because they're going to be harder to train. So you say to the 3-year-old, we're training your little sibling, whatever, brother or sister, we're training them how to stay in bed at night. So you're just going to sleep in our room on there and don't worry about what they do at night because you're going to get to them eventually. So you work on bedtime battles with a 16-month-old, get them sleeping through the night, and then you do it with a 3-year-old. The thing is, the 3-year-old's more likely to get up and walk out rather than just start screaming. So you want that. So when the 16-month-old, you've got them sleeping in bed, and it's a whole process. I don't want to go into it here. You're really going to have to check out I've got lots of videos on bedtime battles. I might have got into it there, but basically you just keep putting them back to bed without talking to them or looking at them. Just keep putting them back to bed over and over. It could last for an hour, 2, 3, 4 hours, but usually it's just one night of hell. The worse that first night is, the less likely they are to ever get up again. So just master it with the 16-month-old first. The 3-year-old probably won't scream. They'll just get up and walk. So it will be quite quiet. And then do it you do that with the 3-year-old with the 16-month-old sleeping in that room. Give it a go. It's varied successes with this because we're dealing with little toddlers. They're kind of crazy anyway. Okay. So there's varied success with this, but that's what I would try first. I rambled on an awful lot about theories and parenting and what kids need from parents. And one of the reasons I did that was I want to see how it goes in the podcast. If you like me rambling on about the philosophy behind all this stuff, or you just want me answering questions, here's what you do. Maybe you can give us some feedback on that. Maybe you want a mix of both, less of one, more of the other, vice versa. So let me know. I didn't tell you I was going to do that, but I did ramble on. I thought I'm going to keep going and see if people like this or not, because I love it. And I can't do a lot of that in coaching because time is money, right? With coaching clients. So I do it, but I keep it a lot shorter. But here, this is all free, so I can sort of give that a go here. So let us know if you prefer more rambling or less of it, and more question answering or less of that.
Yeah. And if you want to listen to us at like 1.5 or 2 speed, then we'll talk really fast.
What'd you say? I don't know. I didn't hear you. Anyway, okay, so thanks so much. Are we all done? Was that the last question? Yeah. Okay, thanks so much for joining us. We're always very appreciative of that. And you're like my grandma cap. And so anyway, thanks so much for joining us, and we'll talk again soon. Bye now.
Thanks for tuning in. If you're ready to dive deeper, check out bratbusters.com to learn more about the behavior board, parenting courses, and private one-on-one coaching with Lisa. If you've enjoyed the show so far, we'd love it if you could take a moment to follow, rate, and review us on your favorite podcast platform. Your feedback helps us reach more parents just like you. The information provided in this podcast is for general informational purposes only and is not intended as a substitute for professional advice. Lisa is a parenting coach, mom, and grandmother. She is not a licensed psychologist or counselor. Her services do not replace the care of psychologists or other healthcare professionals. For a full disclaimer, please visit bratbusters.com/disclaimer.